Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Cursed Apple. My name is Jace. That's Shami. We are here in the weird space of an alternate New York. Jezebel's open, the astral gates well and truly alive and existing. Will someone get sent to the Baroness? Will they ever escape? Let's find out. Kappa 1 is a go. My name is Jace, your pseudo commissioner. I don't really do anything. I'm just here for fun. I'm the patsy, I'm the fall guy, and I am just the poster child. We've got so much hardworking staff around the background. The draft was last week, but games start today. Before we go over our format, as I said, I'll introduce my co-caster. So probably doing most of the heavy lifting on broadcast tonight. We've pulled him in last second. Shami, say hello, introduce yourself, and feel free to plug the socials a bit, because I'm so grateful that you're here with me this evening.
Oh, thank you. You just rubbed me the right way. You know, be careful, because praise will get you everywhere.
Pause, I have a wife. Pause.
All right. But anyways, hello everyone. My name is Shami. I used to go by the alias Spaffles. You've seen me probably around the place from the BPL scene, but I am a massive Deadlock enthusiast. I am been really dead set on this game since it came out, and to see it being backed here by another community tournament, it always feels great to come in and come see. If you want to come follow me, of course, it's just at ShammyCast everywhere, Twitter, YouTube. I make instructional videos. And without further ado, it looks like we have a draft on our hands, Jace.
Yes, we do. So the teams tonight for our first game are going to be Moonshine. That is the name based on the, I believe, Yuri couple of Silver and Celeste, captained by our wonderful fan of women, Lilith, as she attempts to go for another title in a non-Overwatch BPL event. She is currently the queen far and away, with titles in League of Legends and Marvel Rivals. She's got the most. On the other side is another friend of mine, of hers in that same group. It's the Lash Holes, owned by Sarah Lee. She's not playing tonight, but she's got big brain in from that impressive run in last BPL's Overwatch season. Let's see if they can go from Gibraltar to Kings Row all the way over to the Cursed Apple. It's not Midtown, because this game, it ain't mid. I'll tell you that. Let's get into the draft.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, got plenty to look forward to in this draft. We have very high meta relevance from your high mobility characters in this current meta. You have a first ban coming out for Moonshine. It's going to be the Mirage. Mirage has been really devastating to deal with. His marks, his scarabs. He is very tanky, and he will kill you if you get into an elongated fight with him.
The Tornado is just good knock-up, and also it's really important to mention globals in MOBAs are just broken. They always have been. I think they always will be. Paradox on the swap. This is another really strong team fighter. Mikhail S. in Europe, ex-Virtus Pro, really pioneered this pick, being able to hit that slow gun, which can do a good amount of Spirit Burst into that Dimension swap. You've got so many actives in the game now that are able to get that Paradox out as well. So it's like a better version of, let's say, Lee Sin from League of Legends. First pick, though, does go over to Moonshine, and they're going to slam the Mohammed and the Kareem. That's going to be their frontliner, Mo and Krill. First pick for Moonshine, that's a comfort.
Yeah, and Lashels respond with 2 in kind. You got the Mina and the Dynamo, both very meta-heavy picks. What I want to do is I want to focus on the Dynamo, because he had a hell of a time in the spotlight recently, not just with the Singularity, but also with that Quantum Entanglement, his second ability, which allows him to group enemies, or to group allies up with him, and deploy a team-wide cleanse, give himself some extra fire rate, and also replenish charges. So he is an excellent character in both team fight and also deterring a lot of deep, heavy characters like Mirage or Infernus tend to be.
Tommy, I think from my experience looking at other MOBAs, to be fair, it's only a league, I'm seeing very similar trends already, right? Because we've got Mo and Krill and Dynamo, who are your team fighters, your more supportive characters. Dynamo will be definitely lower souls this game compared to Mo and Krill, but both of them do a job of engaging your team fight. On the flip side, Mina and Apollo are these high skill, definitely mobility focused, sort of carrier, more carry kind of heroes that we've got for both sides. Billy is going to be locked in by Moonshine, so they've basically got their front line already. Now, as we potentially get the counter pick from Lash Holes and we go into the next step for bans, I think it's about which carries for Moonshine are going to be open, because they've got kind of an early game carry, they've got an early game threat in Apollo, and they've got a good front line in Billy and Mo and Krill. Pretty standard, right?
Yeah, I'm overall really happy with what I'm seeing for both of these teams, actually. When it comes to Moonshine, like you touched on before, they have a really good team fight, a pick character in the Mo and Krill. You have an Apollo who is able to dish out a ton of damage to the laning phase and hopefully snowball it given the current state of the meta. And then you also got a Billy there that's going to help tie everything together, be that solid part of the front line. What I really like that the Lash Holes did, though, is they lock in the Viper before the second ban phase, so they're going to be able to go really hard into denying a lot of M1 carries and really choke out Moonshine in terms of good options they can spring for.
Yeah, so do you think because of the strength of Viper with that sort of more gun damage build, that M1 carry, as you said, it's the Wraith, gets taken away again, something that is more of a carry, but also the incredible ability to just isolate a single target. And Shami, this was an auction draft. For everyone not aware, this was an auction draft. What did that mean? That all of our players signed up individually in a pool. Now, what does that mean? Fundamentally, that means that we've got various skill levels on the enemy team, right? And when you've got someone that is so far above the curve on the enemy team, you have to counterpick them, deny them, ban them, but when you get them into game, you have to CC them. Point and click CC, like the card from Wraith, such a good way of disabling someone that's got like a 20k soul lead, and that can swing a team fight by itself. So it's a good ban from the Lash Holes there.
Yeah, solid pickup all around, and you also have the pocket ban coming out of Moonshine, really showing a lot of fear and putting a lot of respect on Lash Holes' names. The Victor, though!
I love
the
this
Wallbreaker
character.
Victor.
I love this character, by the way. I love these like drain tank characters. Well, you probably hate it, right? But I think Victor's really cool. It's a really cool design, man. I love it.
Yeah, and then to counterpick it over on Moonshine, you lock in that silver, you lock in the 7, and okay, you have a really strong composition here for the early to mid, and then you got an insurance policy in the 7 for later game.
And Moonshine seemed to be really early game focused, right? Like Mo and Krill, Apollo, Billy, and Silver, all very centric on maybe those first. Well, laning phase in Deadlock is definitely real, but I think it almost ends so quickly. Our second support here is the Lash Holes taking Ivy. Ivy good on the side lane. If they want to play potentially like Spirit Ivy, it has been strong in the past. And that Kudzu bomb absolutely shreds walkers. And sometimes that's good enough. I imagine they might use it as an M1 carry. I think that's a bit more popular. But the last time I checked in on Ivy, you're an absolute demon being able to fly people from the side lane to the mid fight, and obviously putting Kudzus on a walker and then just leaving it. You can do like half of its HP after like 10 minutes if left unchecked. And objectives win games. That is Sinclair locked in for the Lash Holes. That's a specialist pick. Quite supportive kind of draft here for the Lash Holes, if you notice. Dynamo, Victor, Ivy, and Sinclair all coming out. What does this signal for you, Shami? Is there any like alarm bells in your head? Like, okay, they're just playing to like enable the Viper, maybe? Like, what do you think?
I mean, I do see a lot of respect put on their name. You have a really multifaceted form of damage where your Victor is able to pump out a lot, your Viper, and especially your Mina, who, yes, she is more of a frontline burst assassin, get in, get out kind of style, but you diversifying your damage output means that even though Moonshine are very strong at their pick potential, you're going to have a lot of outs, and you're going to be able to trade things back if your carry gets caught. And to further invest into that train of thought, we see Moonshine lock in the Bebop. So that, count it with me, we've got 3 pick characters. You're going to have to work really hard to avoid them, which I think is a strength going into Lash Holes comp here.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think the overall theme I see, what tends to win as a compositional idea at this level, with the variance in skill level across the people, although we've got a lot of our players are at the higher end of Deadlock's rank curve. I'm not sure if you managed to look at the overall ranks of the players, Shami, but most of them are basically, the ranks off the top of my head really elude me, but it's Eternus. We've got probably like 1 or 2 Eternuses per team. We've got a decent amount of Phantoms and then 1 under. So a lot of these players are sort of more towards the top 4 ranks rather than the middle and the lower end. So we've got some serious players in here, and they seem to be knowing what they're doing. But most importantly, they're going to be in on team fighting. Team fighting, drafting good team fighting and good scaling is the backbone, I think, of any MOBA at this level, where you're obviously not at the top super professional. It's just reliable and it's safe is sort of the way I've ended up accidentally winding that out. Bunch of BPL recognizable names in here as well. Lilith, Dulai, Manny, Dustdale, Big Brain. But we've got a lot of cool players making their debuts. Welcome Dryrub, Loof, Careless, Gyogo, Cremonu, and Vixen. This will be their first times competing in a BPL event, I believe. So lovely to have you here. And well, let's just get deadlocking, you know? Like, let's what do you think of the drafts, by the way? Like, just one versus the other. Like, do you think who wins early, who wins mid, who wins late? What do you think?
So I think if I want to start breaking this down, I got to go with the phases of the game,
Yeah.
right? So in the early game,
Mhm.
I think Moonshine come out with a really significant advantage. Lash Holes, they want to buy their time. They want to scale and they want to hit that 20 to 25-minute mark without finding themselves in an ultimatum, so that they can execute on the fantasies that their characters bring. I really think it's
Yes.
difficult for Moonshine to make with their lane assignments, make a lane that doesn't work here. It's going to be really, really strong, Jace, no matter which way you look at it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of the skill here is just like in a League of Legends lane, it's about going even.
Would it be? Absolutely. I think that's the most important concept that, to be honest, Sham, like I've literally seen like content creators in League of Legends. I'll just say LS and move on, because that's basically who I mean. Go on like 4-hour rants about the idea of when you play scaling, going even is winning, going slightly behind is winning. Because especially in a game like this where you can get so many souls in the late game, if you're down like 2 kills in lane, maybe you lose your tower at like 10 minutes, or maybe you lose you lose Guardian a little bit early. It's fine. There's so many souls on the map. In an environment like this where you're going to be funneled, particularly anyway, like you're not going to have a support Kelvin taking jungle camps off you if you're Viper, are you? Not in this environment. It'd be very unlikely, because you can grab your microphone and say, hey, we've put me on a carry, give me the jungle, nerd. Like, you know, the ability to funnel resources is more reliable, and that's a big help, because in MOBAs, like in solo queue, you've got to fight over the resources on the enemy team, on your own team. That's why invading and farming backwards is so good, because your team won't fight you for resources that are in the enemy jungle. So when you take those, you can then take your own. We just have a small player issue before we get in. Sham, would you say that, again, I feel like I'm really putting you on the spot here, I apologize, but looking at like lane assignments, as I said, I don't think lane is the most be all or end all in Deadlock. It's not necessarily in League at the sort of levels that I engage with anyway. But are there any 1-2 pick and roll combo punches where you're thinking, let's say from Moonshine's perspective, right? Because Lash Holes are looking to scale. Moonshine are definitely looking to stop that scaling. They're looking to get a significant advantage in terms of map state before that scaling comes online. That's just how the matchup works in any MOBA, scaling versus non-scaling. Is there any two that Moonshine can put in a lane where you're thinking, if these two are in the same lane together, you are going to get absolutely fisted? And like, that's not going to be fun, and that will give them a huge win con in that first 15 minutes of the game.
Yep, I definitely think that we're going to see an Apollo Silver lane here together. Just the amount of damage that Silver can do early, the Bola disabling your movement, and then an Apollo coming in with his flawless advance dancing around you in the sky. It's going to be really, really hard for you to deal with if you're the Lash Holes. And also the advantage of putting characters that are this mobile, this strong in the early game into mid is that they have easy access to roaming. I'm not just talking about roaming at 5 minutes when we have bridge buffs, but I'm talking about roaming at 2 minutes, catching people before they have their second or third ability, Jay. So that is really the name of the meta right now, is you want to get active, you want to get out there on this map as soon as possible, and you want to pick up those early kills.
Yeah, that's a fundamental that, as I said, I will constantly mention other MOBAs and other games that I've experienced, like a lot of it being the stinky Riot game. But shove mid, go side lane. That's literally like shove mid, go side. And particularly in this game where I think it's harder to manipulate wave states and it's more beneficial to kind of just shove the wave as fast as possible. I don't think that's always the case, but I think I would expect at this level, at this timing of the game as well, that teams are going to be fighting for priority basically the whole time. They're going to be trying to get those minion kills as fast as possible so they have time to trade. They have time to hit boxes. There's so many things on this map. Like, if you have ADHD, this is like the best game ever for you, because most of the time MOBAs are like a real ADHD check. which is why scaling comps often fail, because people do just get ADHD. They want to do something. They want to fight when they don't have win con. They want to fight mid boss when they can just give it and continue to collect waves. They want to fight it. They'll get wiped. They'll lose. But like in Deadlock, you've got Sinners, you've got jungle camps, you've got boxes, you've got buffs. It's unreal the amount of stuff spread out from the map that isn't lanes. The amount of extra stuff you can do is crazy compared to other MOBAs that I've seen in the past and other ones I've experienced. It really, I think, is going to be... Shami, I'm interested to see how both teams handle the vast amount of resources on the map away from the lanes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think one of the really big intricacies of this game is I was actually up earlier studying this. I don't have my notebook here by my side, but when you're looking at your lanes and when you're looking at ganking, you have your mid lane in a game like League of Legends. You have your mid lane has a wave every 30 seconds, and your bot lane will have a wave. It's every 30 seconds, but it's offset by 15, so it creates a lot of those early gank timers. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
In this game, though, it is about a 5-second offset, so the distance isn't going to be that long. So enemies are still going to have a really good opportunity here. That once you've shoved your wave, there's a good chance they'll already have theirs too. So it's going to be a little difficult to find those in between wave timings, but it's still definitely very doable.
The one thing I will say as well is. Obviously, early you do really get punished for dropping waves because the tower damage is so, easy. You can put abilities on the towers as well, which is something that you cannot do in League. The towers fall very, very quickly in this game. Once the towers, these early Guardians go, that is basically, it's not quite laning phase over, but it pretty much is. And you can fall a Guardian in like 5 minutes. Interested to see what it looks like at this level in this tournament environment, where I think teams are naturally a bit less aggressive. There'll still be kills, but there won't be as many as like your average solo queue game. That's for sure. You're absolutely right though. Like the ability to mid and roam, I think is so strong in this game as well, because of like the mobility as well, right? Like for Bebop, for example, you can build like Warpstone, you can build, I was gonna say Magic Carpet, but I don't even think that's in the game anymore.
I was still around, yeah.
Yeah, it's not real though, is it? But stuff like Warpstone or something like that, well, even then, you've got like 4.5 bars of stamina. So hit a couple of triple jumps, hit a couple of ledge dashes, hit a 360 YY underscore, go launch yourself to midway between, maybe where like the Sinners is normally captured. And then just fire your laser, and that's a gank. Like so many of these characters have so much mobility or range that you don't even need to fully go into the lane to gank. Like Bebop could just death beam someone from like 2 screens away. It's ridiculous.
Yep. Yeah, you're gonna really struggle to find your head from your feet in a lot of these team fights. And that is a lot of like where the double-sided element of the skill is. Yeah, you can be a macro god, but when you get into these team fights, if you're not able to shoot people, if you're not able to cycle those abilities, if your Overwatch training doesn't pay out,
exactly,
you're really tough out of luck, and it doesn't matter how you are, you're just gonna get gunned down. And we do finally have the start of game number 1, the Lash Holes versus the Moonshine, and okay, our lane assignment predictions aren't quite coming true.
No, but it looks like we've got the 7 on the side lane. We've got Apollo and Mo and Krill, which I think is going to be very strong as a lane in general. I don't mind Bebop and Silver, though. It gives you a little bit of range, a little bit of catch, a little bit of CC as well. Again, there's some good combos that we're seeing here. I am going to be really interested to see how the Ivy Victor duo does, just as that's 2 characters I enjoy watching and can probably feel the most confident discussing, because I think they're so interesting. And they're going to be lined up against this Mo and Krill. Sorry, actually, they're up against the Bebop and the Silver, right? Wait, have I got this correct? Hang on. Let me actually use my eyes on the mini-map, not above. Wait, let me figure out lane assignment. Sorry, Shami, give me a second.
All right, let me talk you through it. Jace, okay? Over in the left-hand side, we've got the Silver and the Bebop facing off against a Victor and an Ivy. It's going to be a very big, unstoppable force versus an immovable wall. You have so much sustain on the side of the Lash Holes in this lane. It's going to be really difficult to dislodge them. When you look over at the mid lane, that's where I expect most of the volatility here to be. Mina and Sinclair for Lash Holes is their biggest powerhouse, their biggest strength. Sinclair is able to double bolt you for about half your HP in this early game. You're going to have a really tough time surviving against it. Mo and Krill and Dilly, though, the two of the tankiest characters in the game at the moment, that is probably who you want to put there, so good mapping there from Moonshine. And then when you look over on the right-hand side, you got Seven and Apollo running up against a Dynamo and a Viper. That should be a pretty tame lane, all things considered. Two scalar and two relatively early game characters.
Yeah, I really like the Ivy and the Victor combo together. My brain just like defaulted to almost like League or Overwatch, right? Where like you can just press tab and it's lined up exactly. But I gotta look at the minimap for future. But I think Ivy is good because they'll be able to give M1 support in securing CS early, which I think Victor will struggle with. You can give healing support as well if you W and healing right. I say W, if you 2 and healing right, that will be able to give plenty of HP over and attack speed. Kudzu Bomb, again, another way to help wave clear, which Victor will struggle with naturally. And of course, being able to fly the Victor into the enemy team, a character that struggles with most of the. It's almost like a perfect little match there for the Lash holes. I'm really interested to see. And as you said, they're going up against the... they're up against Lilith on the silver, so that's the silver lane as well. So they're going to get pushed in quite hard here, no?
Wow, that's a ton of damage there onto the Victor. It's an interesting ability choice to go 1 in 3 and neglect the healing, that rejuvenating rush that he has. And he's going to pay for it with his life as Lily goes in deep, is able to bait out the parry. And that's a first over to the silver. Really good news if you're Moonshine, less so if you're Lashels.
Yeah, I know I said the game's naturally going to be a bit slower, but you can absolutely dive in this game. It's really easy. Just go and parry the tower and go for it. And one thing Lilith will do is dive. As I said, that aforementioned MOBA queen really, really loves her games. They might have overstayed, actually, because Victor's back already. But the Ivy falls to 91 HP. Have they overstayed? Looks like they haven't. Even if they 1-for-1, it might be worth Victor. That M1 damage isn't going to be good early. The aura comes in, but unfortunately it's about as much aura as I have when I flirt with my wife. It's not going to do anything early game.
Alright, but there you go. The Victor has Jumpstart available, so he's able to heal up some of that self-damage and bring himself alive back into this lane. Some of the early game decisions did put Lashels at a disadvantage, but you said it before, you put it very well. Unless you go 1 in 4 or like 0 in 5 in the lane, you're probably coming out of this even.
You're fine. And that puts the onus on Moonshine, right? There's an article and a base concept in the card game I play called Who's the Beatdown? It's your job to actively aggress the enemy. Speaking of aggression, it looks like Viper is being really forced to back off the wave here. Potentially might even need to just go in to secure the CS and reset their HP. As I have to cut off my point there. But yeah, basically the easiest way to describe it is, as I said, the early game comp needs to not only go ahead, they need to get significantly ahead. They need to stifle the scaling. They need to take away resources from the scaling, put them as far back in the map as possible. Otherwise, stuff like that can happen. As that's a kill secured by the Sinclair and Mina lane. Excellent work for the Lashholes to go 1-1.
Yep, really good job there, and we also see the Nox Nostra get popped up. Mo and Krill finishing this off with a quick melee. Good job there to July. One of the big things that just happened right now is the bridge buffs did end up getting consumed on this map. Vitality buff making its way over to the silver. Lilith is on a rampage and is going to continue to propel themselves further throughout this mid-early game. Doing a little bit of a check here. 5,000 soul lead for Moonshine is a ton. That is the exact position you want to be if you're drafting an early composition like this, Jace.
Yeah, it's basically like, it's obviously not quite like a significant item, right? But they're going to continue to get ahead early. Walkers are going to continue to be pressured. This is what you want to do. You can really bleed farm in cases like this. Sometimes I really do think it's almost better to go in and get the farm and die, because you can get so many situations where, like, for example, look at that Mo and Krill's HP or Victor's HP, right? You're at critical HP, and without that healing, right, like, what can you do? My god, another aggressive dive. Lilith is Tox is farming. She loves a tank. She loves a top laner in League. She'll love a hard engaged character in Overwatch, and is absolutely on the one half of the Moonshine duo, and really showing that she's a silver one trick.
First Guardian already finds its way over to Moonshine, as expected. The big thing here is the soul count on this 7. 4.8 already is setting themselves up in a nice position here to get your early spirits, like being able to farm aggressively and take a lot of that free real estate over on that jump. You want to steal as much away from the Lash holes as possible. As we see, this Mo and Krill might be aggressing a little bit too hard over in the mid lane, getting cheeky here with the Mina. We see a dive come out from Billy, but he's not able to use the chain gang to lock her in place.
Yeah, just the Sanguine retreat, perfectly timed from Gio there. There might still be a second engage. Dolai goes for it, and if anyone's watched play Overwatch, you could smell that coming from a mile away. This man is the definition of an inter. Open the page of unnecessary death, Dolai's face will be exactly right there. I understand the coin flip. That's going to be a nice chunk of souls going over as the Lycan Curse once again pops for Lilith. Baby, I am praying on you tonight, Alexa. Play Animals by Maroon 5, because this is a rampage of the wolf. The Yuri Wolf, God's favourite gay woman lycanthrope, is going absolutely crazy here for Moonshine. Real strong force for her in the early game. She's at 7k souls already.
We see here on the other side of the map, Loof was trying to find their double sinners, but Vixen and Joey were already on top of it. That's going to further skyrocket them in terms of souls, but also the permanent buffs that your sinners will provide. Losing it this early in the game is a significant detriment. Now, I did also want to touch on a little bit here, the Silver. Yeah. She is going to be super strong. When she's ahead, she is unstoppable. Yeah. But one of the big things, Jace, is if Lash holes are able to drag this out long enough, if they're able to complete their core builds, you have a lot of good counter itemization against her. You've got your metal skins, you've got your slowing hexes, you've got eventually your curses. You're going to be able to contain the wolf, no problem. It's the late game insurance, and Vix, I'm really starting to sweat bullets about, considering he's this far ahead this early on.
Yeah, the main issue here is further Vixen. She's going to be fed. She's going to be fed as fuck this game. There's no other way to say it. We can swear on this stream. I have decreed it. When you're winning, like you've got 3 winning lanes and you're a scaling 7. Like, how piss chill is this game, by the way, Shami? Like, it's a great spot for Vixen now. She's just like, guys, just give me a couple of camps. I'll continue to farm. If they fight us, Lilith, show up, and good in esports, as we say. Because that soul lead, as I said, this isn't Overwatch, you know. A Grandmaster player will always do the same amount of damage per shot as a Soldier player in Bronze if they land it. This ain't the case in MOBAs. You've got souls, you've got economy, and you talked about the counter to the itemization. They might not even get the souls needed, because, oh my god, that's another one. Lilith 5-0 now. Can we get a tab scoreboard check from our producers, please?
And 9,000 souls this early on, and most of it off the back of kills. You gotta be kicking yourself a little bit that you didn't build a trophy collector, but it's not really mandatory when you find yourself in a position like this. Now, we are at 9 minutes and 45 seconds, which means an urn is coming up soon. It's going to be on the left side of the map, and Moonshine are really going to want to get a man advantage on it, because it will be a comeback urn for Lash holes this early on.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to spawn on their side, and it should be the easiest for them to capture. Now, I don't believe there's... Actually, I'm going to have to check if you know off the top of your head. Shami, is there any, like, shutdown sort of... is there shutdown mechanics in this game? Obviously, you know, in other MOBAs, when someone goes on page, their souls are worth more. Yep. Their body's going to be worth more to kill. Do we have that in Deadlock? Off the top of my head, I actually... God, there's so much information in this game. Like, this is my first cast of it, admittedly. I've watched a lot, but yeah, shutdowns. Is there any? Because that's probably going to be a main way for Lash holes to get back into this game. Securing a shutdown onto Lilith, trying to get a huge amount of souls for turning that lycanthrope into a carpet.
Now, Jace, I will be happy to tell you there are many comeback mechanics in this game, and I'll be happy to explain them to you. So one of the big things, one of the main things you'll probably notice here is if you're able to get a shutdown on an opponent who is ahead of you, namely here is going to be this Lilith who has the highest soul counts and is on the winning team. Her respawn timer is going to be significantly longer. We're talking a magnitude of, I think, 1.5x on the very high end. So you're going to be spending a lot of time there in that base, starting to fall behind again. And another thing here is the further you are behind as a team, the greater the percentage of souls you're going to get. I think if you're 30% behind, you get a 20% increase from souls from all sources. So unlike a lot of other MOBAs, where you really want to make high variance plays, you want to play slow, you want to try and defend as much as you can, and you'll naturally catch your way up to your opponents. Now we see how the Lash Holes here are doing exactly that. They're grouping themselves up around this walker, and it's really hard to take this early on, because the next comeback, or stop prevention, I should say, is in play, where the walkers, and most notably the base guardians, they have a really high amount of resist early on in the game, and it starts to fall minute by minute after.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we're getting some builds online, by the way. It's important to note that Warp is definitely hyper-fixated on the kill fest that has been mid lane. Quietly Loof on the side lane as Joey gets the pick up onto Gyo. That's probably their 4th or 5th death of the game so far. It's Loof with 11k, currently one of the richest players in the lobby alongside Vixen. So, as I said, those carries are absolutely getting funneled. And the soul difference, is slowly starting to accrue. It was about 7k. Now I've blinked and it's basically up to, well, actually I think it's 8k. There we go, quick math. So it's slowly accruing on the side of Moonshine, but considering that they've got Guardians down, they've got jungle camps, they're pressuring walkers, they're getting souls, it's not as ahead as you expect, right? Like the gold, I would say, the souls, I would say, are on the right people, but this 7 could get caught here. Most souls on the map, 30-second respawn. That's a big kill over to Careless as well. Loof gets the secure.
Good play there. The Lash Holes are continuing to over-rotate, over-commit to these kills, and they're able to get them because you're a silent 7 at this stage of the game. You don't... Admittedly, you're going to need a lot more souls than this if you're 7, if you want to be online, if you want to take those 1v2s, 1v3s. Now, another thing I also want to point out here is Loof is doing a really good job at staying in this game as a farming carry. You're seeing how they're caught up with the most fed players of Moonshine, and the big variance here is going to be the low ends on the Lash Holes instead. Your supports are really undervalued, but that's a-okay in this context because Dynamo, because Ivy, they're able to play pretty well on a really tight budget.
Yeah, their base kits as well are so powerful. That's another concept as well, absolutely. If you're, for example, if you're on a carry, you're going to have an expensive build because you want the expensive items, but these supports, they don't need expensive items. Your full build as an Ivy is probably looking something at like 25k, right? You're going to be able to get that even if with a bad game at, let's say, 21, 22 minutes, compared to, for example, if you need like a 35k build, which even if you're fed, is going to be a lot better. This is another death for the Sinclair. They've just been rabbited, so they might get the trade of their life, which honestly, if they're forced to play the 1v1 trade, it's potentially worth it. Joey comes in just in time to save the Billy of Dry Rub. I think Dullai might have potentially been shadowing for the backup as well. There's so much fighting going on the side lanes here. 2v2 combat action as the Mina goes down now, so the Lash Holes bleeding all over the map. Moonshine slowly still pushing their advantage, actually, Shami. What do you think of the game state for Moonshine so far?
I think this is exactly where you want to be. You're continuing to farm yourselves up. You've got all the kills in the world. You got that prio on the map. And in about 10 seconds, you've also got your next round of bridge buffs. So renewing your lead, you're going to be able to lay claim to the urn, which will be spawning on the right side of the map, which is why you see so much of Moonshine present there waiting for it to come up. And when you're this far ahead, Jace, you don't really have to worry about comeback or not comeback. You're going to be able to push this pretty far into the enemy's base as we continue to approach the 20-minute mark. Any fight wins could start to convert here into an early mid-boss. I usually would call a 20-minute mid-boss even ambitious, but with the kind of a lead this team has gotten and how consistently they're able to win these duels, I don't think it's out of the picture for them.
Let's talk about soul lead, let's talk about consistency, and let's talk about the idea of prio. Moonshine are going to be able to get into mid-boss first. What does that mean? Lash Holes have to walk into them now. There's no real thing of vision. There's no idea of playing a fog of war. Once you're in there, you're in there. But the fact that they have to walk into you when you've got so much CC, you've got Mo and Krill, you've got obviously Billy, and even the 7 can throw out a little bit as well, of course. If Lilith can farm that lycanthrope form, that ultimate is also going to be deadly. But in that enclosed environment, that 7 ult with CC is going to be so deadly. Moonshine's comp is built to teamfight, Shami, and they might be able to force one with a mid-boss.
Good engage here from the Apollos. Unfortunately not able to convert a direct kill thanks to the Quantum Entanglement saving the Sinclair. but we see Moonshine are continuing to push their advantage further. You're wasting so much time here with this urn, just picking it up, walking it midway through your side of the map, and then dropping it and forcing it to come back. You're not really giving Lash Wolves any time or any space, really, to breathe in this situation. We see the Viper player trying to go in here for a fight. The riposte connects with them, stunning them for a little bit. But then it's going to be the Silver diving on top of this Ivy. Another Apollo ult this fast in succession means that you're going to be able to find that kill. And now you've got a question ahead of yourselves, can we push this Walker? And I think the answer is a resounding yes for the Moonshine.
I believe so. I think that first ult that we saw might have actually been Cremo on the Lash hold. That might have been the Sinclair copy on the attack on. It might have been actually, because I think you still transform into the character with the animation. The singularity, though, is potentially quite big. So that's a Joey overstep, and that could have potentially been what looks to be a water or two, as Lash holds find just a sliver of hope to stay as the gold lead. Again, the soul lead, I've said gold so much, I've blinked, and this is the MOBA Classic, right, particularly at this level, I've blinked, and it's now a 12k lead, it's now a 13k lead. Moonshine, you know, it was 6, it was 8.5, but I blinked and it's kind of slowly exploding. And Lash holes are really bleeding here in the mid game, and sort of fight after fight. It's actually what Moonshine won, and it happens so often in MOBAs at like basically, well, the lower levels, I would say. You sort of blink in the mid game, and you're behind like 10k souls, and you're like, how? And they're killing you and taking all your resources. That's an overextension. That's another kill. That's 2 kills. They've traded Marzi for 2 people. They're going to get this Walker. They might even be able to look at mid boss.
Yeah, I think what really happened there is Lash Wolves committed one of the cardinal sins of defending when you're below, right? You are defending your Walker very well, you're popping your ultimates. That Nox Nostra was able to do so much damage onto Manny, who he did eventually die, but you walk up too far. You walk past your Walker, you get caught out, the Moonshine are able to turn on you, and then ultimately what was a winning trade, what was you defending your Walker successfully, means that you're ultimately going to come up behind and you lose members as a result. Now, Jace, we're starting to approach that 20-minute marker. This is where the respawn timers are going to become significantly longer, and then we might get that coveted mid-boss take.
Yeah, I apologize in Twitch chat, by the way. Apparently the names on our scoreboard is wrong. As you just saw there, Loof is actually on the Mina, right? Whereas it says they're on the Viper. One thing I will say real quick as well is when Moonshine are committing on one side of the map, one lane, I do think Lash holes have done it, but they need to do it better. They need to hit that cross map, right? Like particularly when Moonshine are overforcing, when you've got 3+ members on one side of the map, your win condition is your scaling, right? As we said, that Mina farming, but that Viper farming as well. And they put Big Brain with Viper, they put that Ivy with that Viper to be able to secure souls. We're just on the wrong side of the map, and that led to them getting run down. Here we go, the triple dash from the Apollo Devil himself. Let's see if he gets anything. It's a whiff. 7 ult popped, so that they might be down ultimates potentially for a mid-boss fight here, but hey, it could be worse. They could just lose.
Yeah, Vixen loses their life really early on to this fight. You see the 40-second respawn timer on their behalf. Lilith also falls. Joey falls as well. And that's 3 deaths on the side of Moonshine. On the other side of the map, though, Dustdale does end up paying the ultimate price trying to defend that Walker. And this is the turbulence that you're looking for. These are the trades that you want if you're Lash holes. And the clock is really starting to tick on Moonshine. Are we going to be able to close this game out in time, or are we going to continue to take poor fights and risk it all, really?
Father Time is not their friend, Chami. You're absolutely right. They are not LeBron James in this universe, in this story. They are, in fact, very much Dwight Howard. They might be done at 31, which in this case is probably more like 25. They might be Bukayo Saka even. They've fallen off so hard. That's the rabbit in the hat that comes in. Could it be a miracle, a magic trick for the Lash holes? It could be, as Gyogo takes an important kill. It's traded 2 back, but these fights going in. Now, most importantly, when you get these kills from the side that's down souls, it's what you do after the kills, right? Even for the side that's winning, it's after the kill. What do you do after the kill? Do you push a lane? Do you steal a jungle camp? Do you do an objective? Because if not, all you're really getting off it is the souls required from the kill, which if it's on someone like the Sinclair or the Ivy, that's not a lot. And On the flip side of Moonshine, something I've seen happen so much is a team rifles out to an early kill lead, they rifle out to an early soul lead, and then they'll force to try and end. They'll effectively throw the game. The scaling team will get that one fight, they'll convert it into a mid-boss, the soul lead will be basically cancelled out in 2 minutes, and that's it, they'll throw the game, right? All Lash holes need is that one fight, Shami. What do you think their chances are of getting that one fight right now?
I think the odds are actually pretty high. Off the back of Big Brain's Dynamo, getting a Big Brain Dynamo ult is going to do a significant amount of damage to this team and really give you the angle you're looking for. What I'm really afraid of when I'm looking up against Moonshine is if they're able to take those isolated fights that they've been very well at finding, right? You're able to find the pick with the bebop dragging people away from their team or the combo to lock someone down, and it's really difficult to recover from that. And that's going to be a really big key point here as we're preparing ourselves for another big team fight for this urn, for another big team fight for the mid-boss, is where this Dynamo goes and if the team is going to be able to follow up on him before he eventually explodes due to the amount of raw damage Moonshine can put out.
Yeah, the Lash holes, any fight where you're down econ in a MOBA it is so much more difficult. The Lash holes overall, like their carries have got as much gold, as much souls as Moonshine do on the enemy team, but your supporting cast definitely have to play almost perfectly, dare I say. As here we go, Apollo yet again rips the ult. Can we find anything?
Ankles broken by Gyogyo, absolutely juking out Joey and able to escape with his life. You also see a wall breaker Victor in full effect here, just running down this walker, trading his life for the revive, and now is attempting to make his escape. He does have the warp stone, but that constant slow is going to be a burden on him. The thunder cloud is almost able to secure it, but Joey is ever reliable and able to come in from behind and remove this Victor from play.
It's important to mention that we said that Lilith and Joey were on early game characters, and we expected around the 25 minutes they could fall off, and their value could get less and less. Now, that is still kind of the case, right? But their value has now gone from billionaire to millionaire in this game. And the Lash holes, unfortunately, they're just your common average working man. You know, they're just the proletariat. And the proletariat of America, well, they should kill the president, but that's neither here or there, and that's very illegal to say on stream. Nonetheless, back to Deadlock. Is this Billy overextended? Wait a minute.
Now we saw him looking for that chain gang, is forced to abandon it, and now it's just a chase that's going really deep into the Lash hole's base. And we see on the other side of the map, we have the urn picked up here onto the Mina, and you'll be able to walk it over. Big bonus benefits here are going to come if you are the one to dunk it in. You get a percentage of bonus souls, you also get bonus permanent buffs. So that would explain here why the Lash holes are trying to, put everything into their primary hopes here moving forward. Moonshine staging themselves up, looking for an angle here to deny it. Are not going to be able to melee her in time. It's going to be deposits. Are they going to be able to retreat, though? The Sanguine retreats, able to pull the Mina out of the engagement, and the debuff remover as well. The Silver is rampaging in deep as we see Gyogyo copying some of those tactics, whipping out the wolf form of their own, and the Lashl's are able to get away with it scot-free.
Yeah, it's important again to mention that Moonshine, their econ split, their soul split, is very, very socialist, very shared. Mamdani's New York, ladies and gentlemen. But Lashl's, it's definitely a bit more capitalist, it's a bit more individualistic. And speaking of, that's a big chunk of their power gone. That's a big frontline presence. As that Victor goes down, as someone was about to point out, had most of the souls on the Lash holes. Now, we're sort of posturing, I feel like, at the mid-game. Moonshine know that they need to rip a mid-boss, but I guess they're looking for picks for it. I don't think that's the one that's just going to force them to go mid-boss, because the respawn time from the Victor is going to be so quick. Their soul lead is growing, though. It's almost just south of 20k. I think it's kind of slowly flipping backwards and forwards, but I'm pretty sure it's staying around this sort of like 18k mark. Moonshine have built an impressive amount of lead here. It's going to get more as potentially this urn comes in. Yeah, it is captured, despite the attempts of the rabbit trick from the Sinclair. But I'm so interested to see what happens, because I feel like this game is just building and building, Shami, and like I'm just waiting for the pop. Basically, I'm waiting for the fight. Minor misclick. We've been there.
Oh my, the singularity being down for 3 minutes on a misclick, that's gonna hurt, man. That is
By
not
refresher.
what you want to see.
By refresher.
Hey, I mean, as a 23k Dynamo, Refresher Rush is not the worst idea in the world, but it seems like they're opting their way into some damage of their own as well. You know, having the multifaceted approach is definitely never a bad idea. We see here in the hallway, the Mina gets caught off guard here by an Apollo, but you do have the rest of the team here to back her up, and Lash yet again find themselves in a position where they are fighting up in terms of numbers. Silver drops down below half HP and nowhere near getting the Wolf out from inside. We see the 7 also gets popped. Dynamo trying to run away. The petrification comes through and Silver dies before her Wolf form is engaged.
Oh, so good. What a
brutal fight. We see Gyogyo lose their life as well, Dusttail, and now Kremen is going to follow them to the grave shortly after. Though he is able to regenerate his health. We see the Bebop get taken down, and Moonshine lose 4 members and only manage to get 2 back.
Make it 5.
Getting in this fight without a singularity, Jace. I'm afraid to see them with one.
It's Careless and Dusttail. Dusttail's labelled as Tremonyu, aka the Victor. That's Dusttail on the Victor, and I believe this is Luth on the Viper, but they are still alive. At first they were afraid, but then the Moonshine were petrified, but now they're back, you know? And I can't continue that song reference. I actually don't know that many lyrics from that song, but yeah. I think it's I Will Survive by... I don't know the name of the band, damn it. That would have been such a good reference if I knew the lyrics and the name of the artist. Oh well, better luck next time, Jace. Nonetheless, more importantly, as I'm just yapping for no fucking reason, excuse my ADHD, guys. What a huge fight for the Lash Holes. They carried up like 3 or 4 kills. Their carry is Luth. The Viper is going to have to be the main thorn, the main sting, the main bite, as Moonshine look to bite back. In this game, they've got a vampire and a snake, a snake, and a dead man walking to a bar. And it's Jezebel's in the Cursed Apple, and they start a bar fight, and let's see where this punchline goes, because they landed a couple of key punches in this fight, and it's so big that Luth is alive and able to get those kills and this farm, by the way. Like, this Viper is going to be so important at dealing with this front line, this pressure, this overwhelming bulk that Moonshine has.
One of the big things that puzzles me here, Jace, is Lash Holes had both of their carries online. They had them alive after the fight, but they didn't choose to go for the mid-boss. Instead, opting to unslot lock themselves. It is still a valuable increase, but having the 3 Rejuves online for 4 minutes would have been a bigger upgrade. Now, looking at
you think they could have done it?
I definitely think they would. You have the firepower. I think that coming from other MOBAs, having things like the Baron Nashor in League of Legends, you really fear it and fear tackling it without the majority of your team present. But the mid-boss falls over pretty fast, especially in the face of somebody like
Viper. With Viper as well, right?
Yeah.
Like, you think Viper can just M1 down that pit, sliding around, doing a water park there, aren't they? Like, that's easy pickings. That's so much damage. No, I agree. I think it's definitely doable, right? I just wonder if they're just thinking, okay, we finally got somewhat of a lead. We finally got somewhat of a soul gap. Closed. Let's not throw the game on a mid boss, right? Think about the mental behind the whole game.
Yep, huge singularity there. Catches 3 members of Moonshine, but they're not going to be able to convert any kills off of it. It's just a little bit of extra damage. We see the 7 raining down death upon them from above, and it's going to be Vixen that ends up falling first. We have Kremen, who's just on the other side of the map split pushing, and you have this Viper who's caught up in the middle of everything, in the thick of things, and everybody knows that you're going to die. Goodbye, Viper. Luth manages to drag their way right into this fight at 1 HP, gets hit by that bola, and the Sinclair is 1 health. Make that 0. So now they're facing that respawn screen. We see that pull back out of the spawn. Stone form able to buy themselves a little bit of extra time. The barrier as well for that last.
Oh my god, they're
clutch
alive.
Extra HP. The Hyper Beam tries to find any straggling kills, but they're not able to get it. Moonshine, you have won your battle. It's time to collect your prize over in the mid pit.
30 minutes in, and Moonshine finally get the opportunity to mid boss, and Lash Holes, they almost snatch. They might have snatched defeat from the jaws of victory there. I thought they found the fight, the Moonshine just find a better one immediately after. They get the focus onto Loof on the Viper as well, and really nice. You can tell with some of the experience in team fighting games. Lilith has played League. She understands the idea of soul econ and taking out the carry. Dulai will call team fights live and target prio in Overwatch. You can guarantee their comms are just Viper, 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 until their tongues bleed Charmy. Because once they take the venom out of the proverbial snake's mouth, once they are able to rip the Lash hole a new one, so to say, that's mid boss, and it's not quite game, but you know, there is the free throw line with a chance to make it a 4-pointer. You know, they absolutely have the game by the scruff of its neck. The Lash holes are slowly going to bleed out here. I feel like this mid boss is huge for Moonshine.
I mean, one of the big things that is going to afford them is going to allow them to siege this base, really crank into some of those base guardians, and start to claim those shrines, because shrines will give you super minions. It'll give the enemy team a permanent debuff in terms of the souls they get from waves. So it is very, very, very impactful to get if you're Moonshine and you want to really hamper a lot of the scaling that Lash holes have. But yeah. I can't reiterate this enough, is Lash holes are doing a really solid job at keeping their carries in this game, keeping them continuously farmed up. And yes, even though Moonshine are ahead in terms of souls, as soon as these regios are out of play, they're going to be right back on equal footing.
Yeah, the carries on. It's important that in cases like this, for example, where Gyogo potentially might have gone for a pick, it's fine because their respawn timer, now it's getting a bit more dangerous where they actually can leverage that man advantage. But when you're down like this, it's often how do I say it? It's people think in reverse. People think when you're like 0-10 that you just have to play safe and do nothing. I actually think in games like this, it's the opposite. Go in, make a play, because if you die, doesn't matter. What you can do is you can open up the opportunity for your carries to potentially try and find something. You have to find the right opportunity, but if you go in on a 50-50 flip engage, and unfortunately you guess tails, it comes up heads, that's fine. Because the minute you find that correct flip, you're going to win the game.
Yeah, so we see this Ivy get caught out, gets dropped to very low HP. Gonna be the petrifying Bola there to stun the Silver in play. She's not able to enter the Wolfen form for another 5 seconds. It's biding her time as Lash holes are already down 2 members. You see the ultimate coming out from 7. He's barely able to regenerate, but ends up using one of the rejuvenators. We see Kremen losing their life, and now the Lash holes down 3 are forced to surrender even more of their base. This will be an easy shrine. This will be an easy patron down, and the Moonshine potentially going to test their luck and see if they can get a further game end.
Yeah, let's see. The Archmother calls, doesn't she? She calls out to Moonshine. Do they pick up the phone? Because they've played a little bit of, admittedly it was a little bit of a shaky mid-game, but their team fighting was so good. They found the engages where they were able to null the Viper. They were able to get rid of the Mina, and it was really only this Viper from Loof, I felt like, that was the key chance. Dulai still in here getting amongst it, actually living somehow. How on earth is Dulai still alive? So much damage, taking the full M1 from like 10 solid seconds, as finally that fuck-ass mole goes down. Like, Shami, Dulai lived for an illegal amount of time there. Jesus Christ, hanging on by a single thread of their armpit hair for like 25 seconds. And that's so disheartening, right? It's so disheartening, right? If you're Lash holes, like you've got an M1, the front line for like 25 seconds just to get that one kill.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, Jace. I'm a little bit disappointed with how the latter half of the game has been going. I'm going to be the discerning older father figure here, as we really should have seen Moonshine push their advantage further. They had all 3 of those rejuice. They had 2 early picks. They had, I think, 3 even. But
I mean, they can see soul. They can see soul difference, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the fact that you can see soul difference, the fact that you can see soul difference compared to other games, it's like they can still see soul difference. That's not just a solo queue thing. The fact that you can see soul difference, guys, press tab. We're way stronger than they are. I know they're scaling. Fair enough, their Loof has 41k, but like our Viper has 43, Dulai has 38, Billy has 39, Lilith has 41. Like, you know, you're not able to necessarily force a fight, but you can continuously look for opportunities to pressure and force a response from Lash holes. Because if they don't play perfectly when they're behind, they're going to make a mistake. And even though it might not be a mistake when they have even souls, but they don't have even souls, that's why it becomes a mistake, right? It's a classic MOBA example. That means that they can bleed, they can die. Like, look how quick the Sinclair died, for example, right? They went for one rabbit on the... sorry, I forgot the name of the Sinclair ability. I don't play this fuck-ass wizard. They went for the rabbit stun, right? To basically polymorph onto Lilith. Yeah, the rabbit hex. And they landed it, but, like, they're so deep for it, they just get instantly one-popped. And then that gives them mid-boss off it, you know? But, like, they have to go for that play, I think, because they're behind. But... you know, they die so quick. They die so quick to Moonshine's damage. I agree. I think at the end of the day, like, we're in North America after all. Just 5 mid, just A-ram it. You'll end the game. I believe.
Yeah, I think the big sin that they committed here is that Moonshine were a little bit too kill hungry. They didn't seize their advantage when they had it and decided to drop the objectives and force Lash holes to come out of their base to them, taking all those fights, especially since this Viper has split shots. She's going to be able to cleave and do damage to everybody in those small corridors, and it's going to be really, really difficult for you to really escape her, especially with some of the builds we're seeing come out. I will just comment on that as well. These are really, really greedy builds for some of these players. I see the silver has a decent amount of greens mixed in here, but somebody like the Apollo, who is full sending the spirit spikes, going all the way.
Yeah.
It's very ride or die for this team, and now you find yourself in a position where you're forced to play back, you're forced to play safe, take the farm. You don't feel as comfortable turning in this urn, which means that Moonshine are not going to be able to push an advantage here. We do have the mid-boss coming up in 5 seconds, which means that anything and everything here is on the table. Is it a mid-boss rush? Is it going to be an urn to force a fight? I really don't feel comfortable giving a prediction, given how sporadic this game has been. I think we just got to wait and find out.
It's been wild, hasn't it? I would imagine that Moonshine, more so commenting on player behavior of this level, of this type of game so far, rather than what they should do. I think they're probably going to look for a pick, either onto probably one of the lower econ soul members of the Lash holes, maybe a support, maybe find Dustdale, maybe find Big Brain here, maybe even find the Victor to force that ult. And then they're going to go mid-boss. I think, honestly, Moonshine probably can just force mid-boss after a pushed wave. They might be prioritizing Urn here, though. So they seem to be gathering towards this left side of the map. Yeah, I think Moonshine are going to be going for the Urn. Speaking on builds quickly as well, even sometimes at this level, you can find builds off like websites or recommended pro builds, which tend to be greedy, right? Because they know they're going to get more souls than anyone else. So people aren't going to be perfect on optimization and itemization. But you're absolutely right to point out that some of them are very, very greedy, which can lead to being punished. But, I mean, how greedy is greedy when you've got 49k, right? Like, you know?
Yeah.
How greedy is your build if you've got, 10k souls more than, enemy frontline?
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit difficult to hang with it, but I think that's really the saving grace here for Lash holes is they do have that strong frontline. They do have that dynamo that's going to be able to be a really big cheat code for them. And they're making all the right plays. They're making the right moves, right? Surrendering your contest of that urn drop-off point is going to allow Lash holes to live to see another day and to potentially come in here and fight the mid-boss or just continue to drag things out further as we see another urn spawn come out. Moonshine are going to continue to be on top of this first and foremost. And things are just going to continue to drag out as with the recent changes to your leveling curves, right? Because souls are both your gold and your XP. You're going to have all of your characters maxed out on all of their abilities at this point in the game as soon as they hit 40k. Yes. So that is where Lash holes are really at their strongest. And if you're Moonshine, you've really missed your timing here on an early to mid-game composition, playing the game this late on.
Yeah, I agree. Now, it is still absolutely winnable, but you're right. Once you get past a certain point, the fact that they're only down like 30k might not necessarily even matter, because at this point, Moonshine really can't get any stronger. They can buy counter items, I guess, but they really can't get that much stronger at some point. The fact that they have so much just becomes irrelevant. That was a lot of damage. That is just Loof absolutely out of there on the Mina. Dustdale falls, Big Brain goes as well. So the Lash holes lose the Ivy, the Mina, and the Dynamo. That's big ways for them to get round back into these fights. Marnie might be traded. So Cremonu,
You're able to,
give them a chance.
yeah, you're able to trade him back there on that side lane. You're able to do a decent amount of damage to him, yes, but Moonshine are able to run away with that fight victory, and it's going to mean that they're going to start up this mid-boss. You see Gyogyo here going in with the invisibility granted to him by the Veil Walker. You have the Rabbit Hex, you have the Unstoppable. You're looking for an angle here. You have the Rabbit Hex on 3, the
Wait a
snare
minute.
as well, and Lash holds clean. Oh, flee of
No
Rejuvenators.
way.
The
What a
fight
throw.
rages on as they do
Doesn't
try to
matter.
fend for their lives. Lash holes, they lose the Viper. He's going to be brought back by the Rejuve, but there is no way for you out of here. You have 2
Is
Rejuves
it-
coming out of this.
Is it the NA Classic
Wow.
though? Is it the NA Classic, Shami?
Yep.
Is it trade Baron for Nexus? Is that what's going on? Are we seeing them take mid boss but ultimately lose the game? Because to be fair, their respawns are pretty quick. Like you say that, but like 65 seconds ain't a long time with how much pushing still needs to be done. Moonshine, they got to get their ass into gear. It looks like Lilith is waiting around for something, but I'm not quite sure what.
Beautiful riposte there to shut down the Nostra, but he was turned into a fluffy rabbit. The Tiny Losan stolen and used against its owner as the Lightning Scroll is going to stun him in place. He shift, keeps the Apollo alive, is able to dance around the
Still
battlefield.
alive,
Tiny
his
Losan
HP.
cuts through to the back. Is not able to find any executes as Lash holes are coming back off their respawn timers. They were fighting down below, but they've been able to drag it out long enough. You see this escape as the Dynamo pops the final Rejuvenator that they had in tow. Ultimate so close to being available is not going to be able to pop it. And Moonshine are able to win this fight right in front of the big gates.
Yeah, this should be it, right? Like, they put so much resources into killing Joey, and this is what happens when you try and overforce onto a drain tank that's so far ahead. Joey's HP got all the way down to like 500. Couple of abilities, the Eternal Lower Arm, that dash, that Fate Sealed. Very akin to that Fate Sealed from Yone from League. And it's ironic, Shami, because that really did seal their fate. They poured everything into killing that Devil, that Apollo, that Riposte, that Fencer, and ultimately on guard, checkmate, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what the correct fencing term is, but it's game over.
I wouldn't count them out until the Patron falls, just because of how scrappy this has been so far. You see the storm cloud, raining down upon them from above. Lash holes lose their phase 1 of the Patron, and ultimately the Victor's revive is forced out really early. That's a good sign here for if you're a fan of Moonshine, if you want to see this continue. But we see Lilith lose their life in the pits. You've lost a really big source of damage in CC for your team. You have the really strong defense now for Lash holes, and the Singularity goes through, is able to catch one. The Moe and Krill falls. It's another blunder here for Moonshine as they struggle to close this game out.
They're making ending Deadlock look difficult. I know for a fact it can be difficult at this level, but it's definitely
Look at your
easier.
Patron, guys. It's low.
Guys, the Patron! Hit the Nexus, not the Vlad. Okay. Oh, Lash hole's alive. How are they still alive? How's this game still going on? Wait a minute. Like, this is crazy. We're at 300k souls, basically, for both teams. 45 minutes. Dear Lord, this one has been... Well, I guess this is the case of classic early game comp that is still staying ahead the whole game, but can't quite finish it out. Like, at this point, it's a... I don't even care to do the numbers. It's over 10k.
Well,
it's maybe even over 20k. But it doesn't matter, does it? Really? Not that much.
Let me tell you, Jace, right? This is what Vixen was brought in for. This is why you have that 7. He's able to dish out objective damage. He's able to scale really well, and he's able to help you close these out. But it just hasn't been used very effectively. And we see Moonshine, for every 2 steps they take forward, Lash holes are able to force them to take one back. And even though they've been fighting down 40k, 30k, maybe like at their peak 50k behind,
they might still lose this game, but I think they might still lose this game, and I should expect them to lose this game. But my God, if they hung on, and I think that this Moonshine team will probably learn from this because of draft. but also they are one of the strongest teams in terms of overall SR on paper in our tournament so far. So this will be a good learning lesson for the Lash holes. They might be able to adjust draft. They might be able to think about bans potentially. But also there's a chance they play them again if both of these teams make it to the end bracket. We do have tiebreakers in terms of head-to-head results and even I think like total soul count or something like that. So the fact that Lash holes are able to drag this game out as long as possible and lose, even if they do, which I'm still assuming that they do, and I'd be very surprised if they win this. It's not the worst thing in the world. The Lash holes have been clinging on by literally the skin underneath their feet, the skin on their, I don't know what the saying is, it's skin of their teeth, the whole game. It's almost impressive to be able to give up like a couple of mid bosses and still it looks like it's just finally going to be over as we hit 50 minutes.
Yeah, you were able to dish out a ton of damage. You have the Silver just continue to be the face of your front line. The Victor taking a ton of damage here. The Storm Cloud stolen by Yo-Gyo, able to rain down or against your aggressors. The Singularity here gets popped, pulls everybody together. Not able to convert any kills off of it as Lash holes lose 3 members. Moonshine finally breaking through in significant fashion. It's a 4th pickup, and after a 47-minute slugfest, Moonshine are the victors of round 1 in the first televised game of Kappa.
Yes, this was an absolute banger, to be fair. This had drama, this had everything. This was a MOBA classic already. This was, Shami, you know what? Welcome to Kappa. I apologize, but I am not sorry, you know? It was real, it was fun, but it ain't been real fun, as Click says. Moonshine, they weren't even bottom of the 9th bases loaded. They were like, it was bottom of the 15th bases loaded. It was 25-25, you know? Yep. They had Otani at the at-bat. They've got Parhez, Teoscar Hernandez, and Friedman on bases. This is about as extent as my baseball knowledge, by the way. They've got 3 on base. They've got Otani stepping up with outs to give as well. They just needed to hit that cloud as we see the MVP by the game given to Apollo, aka Joey. I might actually give it to the 7, although I think the 7 ults were a little bit beefed towards the end, and that's why they couldn't close it out. Basically, the whole baseball analogy was me saying that they keep getting cracks of the whip at that bases loaded, end the game situation, which was the 7 ult, and they kept whiffing it. But eventually, Vixen, that last one was perfect. And it ended the game. Look at that damage, though, from Joey, to be fair. 71k is disgusting.
Yeah, it's an absolute ton. And that's the power of an Apollo who can get ahead in that early game. Another big one that I do want to highlight, right, is we saw how much damage that Silver was able to do during that early game. Lilith was a menace. Yeah. And ultimately, the score ended up evening out because of how long that game went. Once you're able to go long, once you have some metal skins in your inventory, when you have a little bit more counter itemization, the Silver's impact does face a steep decline. And I think that's one of the big things that, aside from their team coordination, because this is the first week of the tournaments, you're going to struggle a little bit converting a team comp like this into, 40, 50 minutes.
Yeah, that was hopefully we don't get one that's that long next, because holy, that was intense. And also games like that, you feel like you just need a whole breath after. So we're going to throw it to a break, but congratulations to Moonshine for taking their win and on stream, and really impressive performance by their key carries. Apollo demonstrating, absolutely freaky.